I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to check these guys' roots. These are some Lithops from Home Depot or Lowe's. I believe they were from Home Depot. I don't think I've ever found any from Lowe's myself. The only place we have a Lowe's is in Coeur d'Alene, which is about an hour and a half away, and we don't get up north that often unless we're going for doctor's appointments. So I think these are from Home Depot, and they are from the winter of 2016. So I think maybe October or November of 2016 I got them. I've done a video talking about how they were huge, and when they split and got their new set of leaves early last year of 2017, like in January or February, they were way smaller. This guy was, you know, about this big, and he went down to this size, and I was certain he was dead because it just kept shriveling and shriveling and shriveling, and it didn't split. It was just completely covering it, and I thought, all right, they're goners, bye-bye. But they didn't, and they've been in, I think this is mostly or all pumice, but I'm not positive. I think maybe there's some dirt down root level. But I want to check their roots and see how happy they are, because they were so unhappy for so long, and they got thrown into this pumice and kind of ignored for about 8 months, and because I was so certain that they were going to die. Alrighty, you guys, I want to interject here really quick. I realized while I was making the video that I said I ignored them, and so I wanted to come back and clarify what I mean by that, because usually when I say I ignored a plant for 8 months, it means that it was shoved to the side, literally forgotten about, you know, not watered, didn't have proper lighting, you know, yada yada, just generally abused. And with these guys, that's not exactly what I meant. What happened is last year, I was just too sick by the time these guys were done shedding their outer leaves, which took forever, and because they shrunk so much. By the time they were done shedding their outer leaves and I was ready to give them a water, I pulled them out of the soil to check their roots and see how everything was looking, and the roots were almost non-existent because they had been so severely overwatered, which again, they weren't any more severely watered than most of the Lithops that you see at big box stores, but nonetheless they were overwatered. And my theory is that they were also overfed and just over everything, trying to make them grow really quick, really fast, because I don't have a lot of experience with succulents and nurseries and their practices and stuff, and a bunch of details on that. But I did have a fair amount of experience in the nursery business with other plants, and the way they force flowers and different other species of common house plants and more showy garden type plants, it is extremely unhealthy for the plant. They feed it a lot of nitrogen and a lot of stuff really quickly, so that they grow and bloom really fast, but the cost of that is really extreme on the actual plant. It's like, you know, forcing a horse to run too long. It's like, I mean, you know, you can kill the plant, and it often does. And so people don't understand why they bring home this super beautiful, healthy plant, and then in a few months it's dying when it looked so healthy. Well, it's dying because it's exhausted and was just mistreated. And so with these guys, when they come and they are, you know, huge, I doubt that the nurseries have been growing them, you know, for 6 years or something, enough to get that huge. I'm guessing they're only a couple-year-old Lithops. And so I'm thinking they're overfeeding, overwatering, over everything to just get these guys to grow really fast. So when the next year comes along and they shed their outer leaves, a lot of times they don't have the reserves built up to make a large set of outer leaves, because they used so much energy growing so fast that they do not have the reserves to make a very big set of leaves. So when the next set of leaves comes out, it's often a lot smaller. And with the tiny one that was here that I just put in another little pot, it was huge. I mean, like I just said, it probably shrunk by at least a sixth. Like it was probably a sixth of the size that it was before when it shed its outer leaves. So that tells you how deeply stressed they were. And because these guys were so huge, I didn't water them at all while they were shedding their leaves. With well-established lithops, we generally don't want to water when they start splitting until the outer leaves are completely shed. The outer leaves slowly feed the new set of leaves. It doesn't need a bunch of moisture. The moisture from the old leaves goes into the new set of leaves. And then as the new set comes up, the outer set shrivels, and once the outer set is shriveled back, then you know there's no moisture being supplied, so you can resume watering again. And by watering, I mean in the way that lithops want to be watered. And so if you've seen my other videos, a few of the ones that I've done on bare root lithops, etc., you know that I talk about how when we have bare root lithops or lithops whose root systems have been severely damaged, that it's really important to continue watering on some semi-frequent basis, even if it's the wrong season, even if the leaves are changing, because the priority has to be the root system. We have to have a healthy root system in order to have a healthy plant. And if you let a very stressed, unhealthy root system sit without stimulation from any moisture for months on end, it's very, very likely to completely die back. And that is exactly what happened with these guys. But because they were so big and overwatered, I thought, if I give them a drink, they're just gonna, you know, it's gonna be no good. They're gonna burst or something. And so I didn't give them a drink, and a huge reason for that was I was just so sick during this period of time. I mean, they would sit for months without me even looking at them. And then when I would look at them, I was like, I don't know, you guys still look kind of scarily plump. I am afraid to give you water, and I would crawl back in bed. But because I didn't water these guys a little bit along, by the time their outer leaves had fallen off and I pulled them out to repot, their root systems had almost completely died back. In fact, there looked like no live tissue to me. It was really, really hard to tell. And so I planted the three, these two and the little one, in this pot, and generally I would baby them, give them extra moisture, you know, all along, just small amounts, and do various things. I would check their roots to see if they're coming on, because once the roots start growing well, then you can back off on watering, but you need to kind of check and see what they're doing a lot of times in between, so that you don't overwater, but you continue to give enough. And the easiest way I found to do that is just to check the roots. So that would be my normal routine. And these guys didn't get that. These guys, I was just too sick. They got plopped in this, they got a water, they got put in with all of my other messemes. And occasionally, if I was watering, you know, some conophytum or something extra, and most of the lithops weren't getting a drink, I would give these guys an extra drink anyways, just to be nice, since they were trying to develop roots. But I have no idea what's been going on, what they, you know, what they look like, etc. And I decided that this little guy that was here, probably, I keep pointing to the invisible red one that I just pulled out, but the little guy that was here, and we'll be back in just a minute, I just had a feeling that he was needing some more water, because every time I watered, these guys swelled up and this guy remained the same. And so I'm guessing his root system, because he was, I seriously cannot believe the little red guy survived. I cannot believe it. It was so huge, and it shrunk so much and detached almost completely from its roots. On top of that, it was just like this tiny, tiny little head with no roots and nothing, that had just shriveled from inside of a ginormous lithops. Like, it was crazy. I thought there was no way it would survive. And so it's been in this pot with these guys. I keep thinking it's gonna shrivel up and just die any day now, and it keeps just trooping along. So, but I decided that these guys are doing really well, especially since last week they finally just started splitting. And so this guy needs, this guy that was here needed to come out and be in with some younger lithops, even though he was older and the same age as these guys. He just got kind of reverted back to a younger stage, and he needs to be with some younger lithops that I'm watching and watering more frequently and kind of babying a little bit more. So anyways, that's what I mean by this guy got ignored. For 8 months, he just got poked in the grow tent and treated like he was healthy, even though he was so far from healthy. So I'll keep going, and we'll take a look at their roots. So I want to check their roots, since it's been about a year since I have, and see what's going on, because the small one doesn't appear to be working on a new set of leaves. So I want to know, are we really unhappy and unhealthy, or what's going on? All right, this is actual soil, so I'm gonna have to get this and dig it out. I don't want to damage anything that's happy. if you can see that. The sun's kind of weird how it's coming in here. Look at all the roots there. Not sure which ones that's for, but they're there. This is perfect. This is what a healthy root system should look like. For once, I've been doing, which they're not all going online right now, so, but I've been filming like a bazillion, it feels like, videos about unhealthy lithops roots from all of the ones I just got from the big box stores this year and showing all of that. So it's fun to actually show one that's been potted up and not disturbed. All right, this little guy, he has a pretty tiny root system. However, it looks great. It's alive and happy, and so I think he's just fine. Yeah, I feel a new set of leaves down there now that I pulled him up. He's just looked exactly like this for a year. This tiny, this just nothing. And so I just thought, but he looks great. I'm actually think I'm going to put him in with some others that were younger that I'm babying, and I think he would like being with them a little bit more. So I'm going to set him aside here. Now these guys, these were really big as well, but they lost about half of their size, I would say, when they re-emerged as a new set of leaves. Now sometimes these guys, well, all the times, when they start emerging, they're smaller and then they slowly fill out. But what I mean is this was, once it filled out as much as it's going to be, which was this size, this is about half as big as it was before it shed its leaves. Now this root system is white and healthy and very, very full and happy. I'm just going to see if I can gently dislodge. I don't want to disturb them too much because repotting this time of year isn't your best option. But since these guys weren't changing at all, I thought, you know what, since I haven't checked them in a year, I need to make sure they're not just dead under there and I'm just babying nothing, you know, on top, which I felt like they were good. But again, I wanted to know if I should be babying them more or leaving them alone. And this is a great, happy, healthy root system. They're free flowing, they're not brittle, they're not brown, they don't look like old peat moss. They look very white and healthy. And this guy's is even better. But again, even with these huge lithops, which these aren't huge, I mean older, not old, but they, you know, they were a couple years old when I got them, and now I've had them for almost 2 years, and so but still, most of this depth, you can see the depth here, most of this is just the branching root system. Its taproot ends way up here. So it still hasn't gone down from whatever damage and yada yada was done to it. I was just talking about this in another video, how if you're, a lot of people have said, oh, I've been told that I have to pot lithops in a pot that is 5 to 6 inches deep because they have a deep taproot. Well, that is true when they get fully matured, which takes years. But for almost all lithops that you can purchase, either from good sellers that are shipped bare root or from big box stores where they've kind of been slightly abused, there almost never, ever will you find a lithops that is brand new to you that you're repotting that is going to have a really long taproot. If you come across one that does, and it's actually a healthy taproot, then yes, ideally plant it in a pot that is deep enough to allow for its taproot. But planting in a pot that is much deeper than the current root system, when it's going to take years for the root system to get deeper, just allows you a lot more chance of having fungus and rot problems because of all the soil below your root line that is going to stay damp and wet, which I was just doing another video about that and why pot size matters so much. But I have so many videos to edit, you guys, and to get put up that it's ridiculous. So I won't go into huge detail about that, but this light airy root system, this is the branching part. It doesn't have to have this much depth. It can go out to the side just fine. But these guys will go in a pot that has enough room for these root systems because they're great and healthy. But when you're repotting new lithops like this guy, for example, does he need a deep pot like this? No, he does not. And if I was worried, if I tended to overwater, you know, anything like that, I would plant him in a very, very shallow pot, such as a little tiny little 1-inch pot, which is probably what this guy's going to go in. I have another friend out there in a little pot, and he's probably just going to go plopped right in there with him until he gets a better established root system, and then we'll go up in pot size, because these guys like to get a little drink to stimulate some root growth and then dry out really, really quickly. And having the right potting medium is ideal, but also having the right pot size is crucial. Alrighty, I'm going to repot these guys up and be on my merry way. I will talk to you guys soon. If you would like to join our Facebook group, please do so. It's in the description box below. You can also follow me on Instagram or Garden Tags, which is another fun app that is just kind of like a Facebook for plants, and you can tag your plant with all of the info about it and when the picture was taken and the variety and yada yada. And so that's kind of fun. So if you would like to follow me on there, please do that. If you know someone that would like to watch this, that has been asking questions about planting and repotting lithops or roots or whatever, please do share, because it really, really helps. I get so many questions, I definitely can't answer them all. And so I'm trying to make these videos so that they can be easily shared, so that if I don't have time to answer people, I can still kind of virtually answer. So if you have friends that are asking, rather than referring them to me and say, ask her, maybe refer this video and say, see if this helps you out. And of course, I always am open to questions of all types. I just may or may not have time to answer every single one. But if you have a question for me, or you have a friend that has a question for me, absolutely, I will do my best to answer. Don't be surprised if I just say, honestly, I have no idea. Because if I don't know about your specific plant or question or don't have experience with it, I will just say that. I'm just like, oops, I'm out. No idea on that one. Sorry about that. But if I do know, if I have information or experience with it, I am delighted to share that when I am able. And so, alrighty, yep, the end. I've rambled enough. Talk to you soon, and happy growing.